Since we had a good cry last week, we're going to have a good laugh this week. Well, or a good bomb. Mango with a loud name is more painful than death. The job is a description that gave me hope to find a good zombie apocalypse among the Japanese. I want to warn you right away, look at your own risk. The story is complete nonsense, the unkind, naive city of Tranchitin, but it's just real nonsense. A benchmark so that creative people know how to do a script is not necessary. You know, for reading this manga, they pay not in dollars or euros, but in another IQ currency. Hence the reasonable question, Lump, why did you take this manga then? Well, first of all, because my opinion is not a damn example, and if I didn't like something, it doesn't mean that you won't like it. And besides, judging by the comments on the resources, the story as a whole has risen to many. The second one is a test. Many people complain all the time that the manga I take is stupid and illogical, although in general, what can you expect from such stories? Oh well, I was wondering if, in my subjective opinion, you would like a really bad job, so meet the zombie apocalypse, which had a titanic potential to become a good story more painful than death. Well, before we start, I ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channels on YouTube and in TG. Yes, the card is ready, but the content will start appearing there a little later. I want to help the audience a little and communicate directly with you. Thank you for your support, and I'm going to retell. Our main characters are an ordinary Japanese student of the faculty named after Sarah Connor Maki Akage, a child named Shota, a guy in a bandana named Junga, a good bandit named Mayora, and just a buzz. The girl wakes up in some abandoned and destroyed building. Seeing the regrown nails, she screams, and then something attracts her attention. This is a child pinned down by cabinets. After pulling him out from under the rubble and laying him down, the girl finally got dressed. She feels strange, her hands are shaking. Approaching the boy, she asks if the kid knows what's going on here. Misunderstanding this drives her crazy, and with tears she asks to tell, but immediately pulls herself together and calms down. Counting to 10. Hearing sounds from above, she says, someone is fighting. Allies and enemies. The door starts to break. Quickly pulling out a knife, she pointed it at the source of the sound. Did you wake up there? Do you hear me? Open it. A voice is heard outside the door. As soon as it opened, a military man fell inside with an eaten leg and arm. Leaving a gun on the main character, the blonde asks what her name is. On the following streams, he just sits there, telling. No one knows where they came from, and no idea where the source of the infection is. Suddenly, people began to eat each other. Parents ate their children, and they ate their parents. It's hard for a girl to believe what she heard, but in addition, she will have to accept the following. Until yesterday, she and the same kid she found were exactly the same monsters from the zombie virus. People were able to make a vaccine, and out of 5 subjects, 2 became people again. The girl does not believe, but the dying man is not going to spend his allotted time arguing. If you come out, you'll see for yourself. The man says that the whole of Japan is literally teeming with these creatures, and there is only one safe place, the Tokyo Dome. It became a gathering center for survivors. The blonde recalls the advertising of humanitarian institutions to help sick children and suddenly says that he could never understand why parents continue to produce them when they themselves have nothing to eat. A year ago, there were 9,000 people under the dome, and now there are about 11,600 of them. And this is in a country that has always had a low birth rate. Lowering his head, the blonde begins to cry. Now he understands that it was necessary to stay under the dome. The last thing he wants to say is that creatures do not tolerate sunlight. In the laboratory, the main character will find the missing information and 3 ready-made vaccines. He left the car downstairs with the keys. It will be necessary for the girl to deliver this very drug to the dome. She will be able to take care of herself, because she was a monster for a year and probably retained their superhuman strength. The man returns to the topic of fertility before death, saying, I wonder, and my child, has he been born yet? As soon as the soldier gave up the ghost, she broke out, immediately meeting a zombie eating the dead. Seeing this picture, the girl is sick and, along with vomiting, a human finger falls out. Suddenly, this monster rushes from behind, and she easily knocks him over her shoulder. Then he hits the head with a knife and finishes it off by sticking it deeper with his foot. Immediately, the boy she had saved appeared around the corner. When he asks who are you, the main character is crying. We are shown frames as they are both going to go outside. And at the same time, we learn that the main character's name is Maki Akagi. After passing the exams, she entered the first year and was able to move to Tokyo. There she was waiting for student parties, alcohol, and new friends. She was only interested in carousing and where to earn extra money. Stupid problems, but now she understands that she was happy then. Outside, Maki notices that tears are streaming down her cheeks. So many people have died, but all her tears are not because of them. Some time has already passed on the following frames. Our heroes have traveled and are now camping. Something is playing with the dogs. Mikey hurries him up and punishes him not to waste any more food on them. They don't have much supplies anyway. We need to pack up and move on. So they enter a ruined city, getting into a dead end because of an overturned bus. We'll have to go around. The heroine rolls around with a map, but the shot who lived here earlier without a map says how to go around. After learning that the boy is local, the heroine offers to take a short ride to his house. Before letting Shota into her home, the student decides to check the area herself. There seems to be no one in the building. There she finds a photo of the child with his parents. When she goes outside, she sees that Shota is already in the car. She brought him a photo and a laptop. Perhaps there is something still preserved on it. When Maki hands him all this and asks with interest who the boy used to be, he begins to tremble. But there is no time for this now. A walker jumps on top of the car from somewhere. When the creature hits the windshield with its forehead, Maki crushes the slipper into the floor. The zombie is still upstairs, trying to get into the cabin with his fist. Something asks, why are they running away now? They are fighting. There is only one opponent, but no, there are a lot of opponents, and they all run after the heroes. Raising the gun, Makin starts shooting at the corpse. The boy asks again why there are so many of them if it's daytime, but the answer is simple because of the rain. Clouds hid the sun. You can't go any further, you'll have to leave the transport. Maki points to a gray building and commands the boy to run. Along the way, she continues to shoot zombies. The kid asks for a gun to fight to, but he is still too small for such things. The hero gets to the building with his tail. Shota finds a room and calls the older one, but when he opens it, he sees a monster in front of him. He immediately attacks, but gets hit by the kid. Shota starts screaming, which is why the zombie suddenly turns around and goes back to his room. Catching up with him, Shota. And here I apologize for the choice of phrase, the zombie Podsraknik ways. Having received a slap on the ass, the monster flew into the nightstand with his face. The kid shows a grin, but then Maki herself throws it across the room. Shota's still a kid, so she'll figure it out on her own. This is not a game. Understand already, she says, sticking a knife in the throat of a zombie, if you're talking about people's lives. But the boy interrupts her, shouting at the top of his voice that he has already killed. He remembered what had happened before. Something killed his kind and loving mother with his own hands. To calm him down, Maki slapped him. A little later, having built a barricade, the heroes disappeared into the room for the night. There, the boy asks the student how she thinks why that fat monster didn't attack them, but she doesn't know. The next chapter begins with an unknown biker in a helmet and a jacket with the inscription, and then excuse me please. Contagious San, who picked up a cartridge case from the ground. And then we go back to Maki and Shota. Then they moved on a bicycle, almost covering 50 kilometers on them. In just 3 hours, at the same pace, they will reach the dome, but suddenly, they are almost hit by a truck. Outside, not the most pleasant people immediately come out, who are surprised that they have met the living. Yes, one of them is also a young girl. As long as Maki checks out the show, he's fine. This gang approaches them, and the main one, Mayura, declares that she hopes that the beloved is still a thing in bed. The heroes are going to leave, but the bandits will not let them go so easily. The leader is amused that they have just caught people who aspire to the dome relatively recently. They have raked in a guy who escaped from the dome. He's in a truck cage right now. The prisoner shouts for the heroes to run, but the leader of the bandits, Mayura, shuts him up. The man says that they are from a community that calls a barn, and they know how to treat women. Taking Maki and Shota at gunpoint, he leads them into a cage. After examining the second prisoner, his name appears to be Yuga. Smiling, he gives the boy a chocolate bar. Turning to Maka, a new acquaintance says that it's not as good under the dome as it might seem, although it's better than getting to these freaks. But in any case, he will help them escape. Taking out a butterfly knife, Yuga says that he will distract the attention of the bandits from paradise and let these two steal a truck. He himself will stay. The car stopped at a large building. Everyone is ordered out. Seeing a woman, the locals rejoice. Coming out last, Yuga grabs one of the bandits and takes him hostage, commanding him not to move. Then the bandits responded. They opened fire on these two. After finishing and leaving the south and his man Nato, Negan takes the prisoners to paradise. The so-called Elsa Tower is surrounded by an electric fence, so you cannot be afraid of zombies inside. Along the way, they continue to tease Poppies, which, to put it mildly, she will not see sleep in the near future. We see that things are not very good inside. Someone is fucked, someone is forced to work. We are transported outside, and there we see a shot south, and a shot under hostage who got up to get out of dangerous terrain. There, the first one asks if there is any secret passage to Elsa's tower. 3 of the prisoners were brought to the zombies with their limbs cut off to make sure that the new ones were not infected. Here we learn 2 interesting points at once. Well, okay, one interesting and one simple moment. The first walkers here are called Zo. The second one. Even these monsters do not touch the living, taking them for their own if they are infected. After explaining, one of the bandits immediately grabs the girl by the chest, and Maki breaks his jaw with a strong blow. And we are going back to the south again. He and his new friend made their way into the tower. The bandit says the whole world knew what was going on before, but even he thought it was nonsense. When it all started, his mother saved him. This made him so angry that he yelled at her at that moment. Then suddenly she started bleeding. The guy was scared of this and ran away. Listening, Yugo approaches the door blocked by the automatic machine and says that it needs to be moved away. The bandit says that he is too heavy for him, but the south still pushes him away. In another part of the tower, Maki and Shota have already escaped and hid from the bandits. While they are looking for her, the lights suddenly go out in the building. What is it? Is it just a technical problem, or is the attack itself contagious? You're still with that bandit. The second one says that he has a wing. He also says that Zo can smell people by the smell of blood. Since the lights went out, the former hostage and the new friend of the half-dead bandit had a chance to save those 2. The guy tortured and killed other people, so this is all he can do to atone for his sins. When an unknown bandit says that it's funny that he decided to help someone in the end, as Yuga suddenly admits he is the same. Under the dome, he behaved like a freak. For example, once he stole food stamps from an old man, which caused him to starve to death. And when I found out about it, I didn't even feel anything. But suddenly something happened to him one morning. He tells about it, holding his hand, and the guy realized how bad he was. The South has already left when, in the pitch darkness, an unnamed bandit says that in order to change, a person must die at least once. Zo flies at him, and he shouts that he is not afraid of monsters, shouts thanks to his mother for giving him life, and thanks the South. Because without them, he would never have understood what is really important, and could not have done what it takes to save another person. Helicopters fly up to the tower with inscriptions because of Rice and Sam. They noticed that the light in paradise went out, and therefore they are going to quickly take control of the situation. The bandits went down to the first floor, where the zombies ate the bespectacled new friend of the South. While they were distracted by the monsters, the guy with the bandana calmly climbed up the stairs. At the top, a pseudonigan with screams show up, bitch. Fumbling in the dark. Suddenly, a hand grabs his neck from behind, and a bloody Yugo appears from behind, who is already so exhausted that he can't even finish the sentence. And at the top, Zazen-san took control of the entire top of paradise. The soldiers are informed that there is a breakthrough on the lower floors, so is everywhere. People are being killed and eaten. In one of the rooms, while Maki is rummaging through his laptop, the bound leader of the bandit, Rai Nadonigan Mayora, asks him to untie him. Yoga is about to turn, and you need to get rid of it as soon as possible. He asks at least to kill the almost brutalized kid. But Maki was not just hiding in the computer, but looking at the method of application of one of the 3 injections. So when Yuga gets up, she knocks him to the ground and injects the serum. It does not take effect immediately, so the infected one rises again and rushes at Mayora. While he literally pisses in his pants, a Japanese student takes him on a choke. After knocking out Yugo, Maki untied Nadonigan. He does not believe his eyes that a vaccine has appeared in the rejection, and the main character tells him that this is why. They must get to the dome at any cost. Then the bandit takes off his leather jacket and holds out the poppies. Since there is no electricity anymore, a new friend suggests going higher. Only in the control center will they be safe. There is real chaos going on outside. Along the way, the poppies ask their new friend if he is sure that they will be safe upstairs. He replies that he is sure of only one thing: these 3 will survive until sunrise. Even if it means sacrificing the people living in the tower. Maki froze at this statement. Being not ready for all these sacrifices, while Zo is not so much, she thinks that it is necessary to restore the electricity supply. If the fence is energized again, then others can be saved. Then she trusts the bandit, the shot, the South, and the vaccine. The man says that she is the price only as long as she has the vaccine in her hands. But the main character replies that it doesn't matter who is carrying her, then snatches the gun and runs away. A little later, we see how she blows off the head of one of the monsters with a light blow. Moving on, Mikey finds a girl hiding under the boxes. She promises her that everything will be fine, when suddenly Shota appears and gives her the found chocolate. At first, Mikey is glad that the boy is coming, but then she sees a bloody pipe. It's obvious that Shota fought with someone before finding them. But she keeps her emotions to herself, asking her companion to take the girl to the roof. The Japanese student herself continues to fight. There, one of the zones pounces on her, but does not have time to bite. Machete stopped him, but then suddenly others run to help. They are already rushing to Mike, when suddenly people appear infected himself. First, one of these people points the muzzle at her, asking if she was bitten, and then removes the weapon. Wondering what the girl sees in the dark, he leans over to Maka and hands her a gun with the words that safety is above all. Then the charmed one is overtaken by his soldiers, and before leaving, the guy promises that next time, he will treat the main character with a drink. In the morning, it was possible to evacuate the survivors. Having set up camp in a clearing, people were fed and medical assistance was provided to those in need. While at this time, Maki was trying to find out from the representative for Risen-san about a guy with a scar on his face, whom she met recently, but no one knows this here. A car pulls up. A former bandit from Paradise says that soon this organization will announce that Paradise is now under their control. While there is time, now we need to go to the dome. Shota and Yuga are already waiting for her in the car. After sitting in the salon, a Japanese student hears from a young ward that the girl still agreed to eat chocolate, and the boy promised that he would return later and check on her. While they are driving, Maki notices a photo of a bandit with a child fixed on the rearview mirror. It's cut off where someone else should have been. After a quick switch to the guy with the scar, who reports that they are now leaving for the dome, the bandit begins a sudden outpouring of soul. He cried all day and couldn't even sleep. And when it did succeed, he woke up in a panic. Although there is no place for hope, he will still continue to dream that one day he will meet his daughter, who will rush into his arms with cries of daddy. Then we get an extra chapter in which the moment of the beginning of the catastrophe is revealed. The zombie apocalypse has already begun. Dozens of infected people are located in a separate room at the military base. Soldiers run inside, synchronously aim their weapons, and open fire on command. A little later, sitting in helicopters, the military fly over the burning city. Someone shares information that it seems the Americans have detonated an atomic bomb, and it has led to nothing. Now the focus is on these two brothers, a man in a helmet whose elder name is Ben, and a dark-haired Tatsuya, his younger brother, who is very proud of his elder. Moreover, Ben is still senior and in rank. While the infection that turns people into monsters is spreading, in Japan, residents are being evacuated under the dome. While people are waiting for their turn, Zoo appeared, which attacked people. While people are being eaten, the author introduces us to the Japanese Prime Minister and Colonel Shimamoto, the man who was engaged in his security and currently runs the dome himself. The example itself is quite brazen. He doesn't care about the people, which is immediately demonstrated by the attitude towards Shimamoto himself. At first glance, he endured the humiliation, but literally a minute later, he shot the main political figure in front of his mistress. At the same time, brave soldiers are fighting zombies on the streets. There are too many of them, and ammunition is running out. They should already be retreating, but the younger brother sees a girl calling for help. He wants to help her, but the foreman shakes his head. Now the priority is to protect the dome. Retreat, he says. This is an order. To which the dark-haired man asks, is that really what you want? Realizing that help would not come, in the alley the same girl reached for a gun as Zoe attacked her. Then the brothers shot the creature. They sent everyone else and came to rescue the girl themselves, but they see that she was not alone here. There were a lot of children with her. The younger brother tried to calm them down, giving the most frightened his helmet. Hey, the dark-haired man says to one of them, you like heroes, don't you? My brother Ben is the strongest of them all. He will protect us all. Taking up machine guns, they began to cover the retreat of the children. I had to fight back until the very entrance to the dome. Ben commands Tatsuya to leave. Taking the children in his arms, the younger brother helped them get to the door, but turning around, he saw that the strongest of all the heroes was no longer a tenant. After some time, the Tokyo Dome became the largest concentration of refugees. It has become almost a separate isolated state. 6 months later, we see the children calmly singing in class. The girl saved earlier came to Tatsu and kissed him. She asks to promise that the dark-haired younger brother will return. And he makes this promise because now he is responsible not only for his beloved, but also for the child who will be born by his return. Finally, the military says that he picked up the perfect name for the baby Mirai, that is, the future in Japanese. Then he and 49 other people went to the laboratory to try to create a vaccine where the last faces he would see were faces, shots and poppies. Next, we get a short flashback of Maki. It's about the carefree youth of a student who just called her mother. and invited her to visit on spring break. Then she didn't need it, but now no one picks up on the other side of the phone anymore. Then Miura approaches her, who, seeing how Yuga and Shota climb the pole, asks, "Do people really get superpowers?" After the transformation of Zo, the guy in the bandana jumps down with the words that it's time to go. He also says that the dome also names what the number 5 means, and the dome is the number 5 refugee center. And it's also a combination of the words Tokyo and go along the way, Miura with a smile on her face, and says that with the vaccine they will be greeted like kings here. Maki is wondering how the South is, he still escaped from this place. But the guy is fine, the vaccine is another matter. At the entrance, they are met by security guards with questions. Who are you? Miura jokes in response, saying, "Is it possible to use your toilet?" Maki immediately explains that they came from the laboratory. After exchanging glances and informing the headquarters, the guards let the arrivals through. Inside, both the vaccine and the group itself are checked. There was a quite reasonable question. What happened to those guys who were sent by the Estoji? No one believes in a truthful explanation, because the starving could just invent such a story. Moreover, information was received that a man in a bandana escaped from the dome yesterday, so a gun is immediately pointed at him. Then Mikey rushes at the local aggressor with a gun, saying that he should not dare to threaten her comrades. The military reacted instantly, but immediately stood at attention. Shimamoto appeared, the main one in this place. He thanks Maki and the group for bringing the vaccine and asks them to forgive him for the people who just acted according to protocol. He calls Maki by name, and when she is surprised, explains that few people here are aware of what is happening. He takes the Japanese student herself away for negotiations. The other members of the group stay, but don't worry. They are safe and will soon be transferred to a residential area. A little later, Shorty was allocated a room. There he is with one of the locals, whom he asked to fix his laptop. She won't tell anyone yet, so the youngster will be able to look at the photos. But in general, according to local rules, it is forbidden to bring a computer to the residential complex. After giving him the identification card, the unknown leaves. Left alone, something lets out tears, indulging in memories, and looking at a photo with his parents. In these flashbacks, he is asked what the boy wants to do when he grows up. He replies that he will play football, but then his parents say he will have to eat vegetables. It was morning in Togo. Shota and Miura met on a street built inside the city. While they are walking, a voice is heard on the street saying that each of those present is helping to build a new world with their own hands. As the speech continues to scroll, we see that Yuga was right on the whole. Well, about the fact that everything is not so good in the dome. Poverty, hunger, and prostitution. Mura and Shota meet a new person who, like them, has just arrived here. They meet a man named Kai. So, they all go together to the place of their new home. At this time, mangaka shows us that Shota and Miura have already managed to make good friends. Continuing to walk, the heroes meet the kid and are already going to ask him the way. But he suddenly says, "If you want to pass, pay." And then he stabbed Miura in the arm. The newcomers have nothing to pay with, but they have identification cards and food stamps. The juvenile bandit says that his territory starts from here and no one will pass here without paying. Then, angry, Shota clings to him, demonstrating the strength of the former Zo. Kai and Miura break sticks, saying that the youngsters will have to skip them. The others are going to attack, but the leader says to let them pass. Shota introduces himself to him, but the guy replies that the names don't mean anything here. A little later, while some complain that they seem to be allocated less and less water, Miura and Kai go to work. Taking the cans of water, Shota went in another direction, suddenly finding himself surrounded by adults. A man asks if he needs help to carry water, as a stone flies into his head. Yesterday's bandit, and now we know that his name is Bezui Kyo, claims that this is their hard worker Shota. Since there are a lot of angry children, angry adults also run away. Kyo goes down to Shota. Seeing off the kid, he offers him to join his gang, but the kid refuses. He doesn't want to take anything away from other people. Bezui tries to explain that this is the only way to survive, when suddenly the unknown woman who helped him with his laptop appears, and tells him the good news. Shota's father is alive, and he's here too. The guy immediately rushed to run, and with the words, "You just did such a stupid thing." Ike rushed after him. Catching up with him about the fork, a new friend says that hopeless lovers of banned substances are placed in that area. So something is not going to listen to him, because before he did not even know that his father was alive. Then Bezuki himself offers to accompany him to the district. Life there is even worse. Kir says that many are fleeing the area. Here people are left to themselves, and therefore it is not safer here than outside. A zombie or a person who is on the verge of despair is ready for anything. In such conditions, they are not much different. The boy immediately remembers the image of his father, who asks his son to be with his mother, no matter what happens. Going inside the surf, Shota sees a skinny father wearing the same skinny woman. Paying attention to the children, he begins to laugh, saying that he sees a shot. That's just the woman sees it too. Probably because they're both going to die soon. The man waves hallucinations with his hand, asking her to disappear. The son goes outside, leaving his dad. Without the ear, he went back and stepped on his father's hand, asking, "Are you in pain? If you feel pain, it means you're still alive. But only if this pain can reach your heart." A transmitter went on all over the toga. News time. The remnants of a certain terrorist organization Red September have not yet been found. And the local government is doubling the reward for information about their location. The refugee situation is still unresolved. There is no progress in reconstructing the source of drinking water yet, and the virus continues to mutate. Along with this, there is also good, one might even say wonderful news. This is a vaccine against the virus, and a celebration will be held in honor of its appearance in 3 days. The news is served in parallel to how Miura came home and found Shota on the bed. At first, he shows discontent that he himself plows to the death, while the kid slept all day, and then cheers up. When he hears the news about the vaccine, going outside and meeting Kai, Miura offers to drink to the fact that the vaccine is almost ready. But he believes that it's too early to rejoice. Saying that he has things to do, the blonde leaves and the bipolar bandit goes drinking alone. In the shot, Bezuka came, who wants to show something to a new friend. First, they pass by a room where one of the henchmen is taking water. Kyo explains that people have less and less water, although the top is fine with it. This place is a secret way for miners to replenish supplies. But that's not what he wants to show, but something else. The lucky ones lead the show to one of the slaves, where a haggard woman is breastfeeding a baby. The girl was born recently, the government abandoned her. And the child's name is Mirai. Mirai means the future, and everything will do everything for her. At night, the South works hard at correctional labor. He suddenly had a visitor, a man named Tetsuo. There they recall together how a zombie attacked and bit a guy in a bandana to their surprise in the light. Then he decided to run away from the coops so as not to infect anyone, even though his friend dissuaded him. They say it's a scratch. Yuga asks Tetsuo to use his connections to get the first one released, but he can't yet. Now he is busy gathering fighters. That's the end. The vaccine is a duck, showing that the government no longer knows what to do. Typhoid fever, malaria, or a virus that turns into a zombie. There or here a person dies, only the way differs. But what he has in mind, the new character does not tell. Visiting time is over. A little later, somewhere underground, Kai and other people discuss a certain operation that will begin on the day of the holiday. After some time, dissatisfied people gathered, who want water. The authorities open fire, and then the disgruntled crowd runs away. At this time, the author finally returns us to Maka, who has just learned from the doctor that she is 4 months pregnant. Shimamoto calms the Japanese student, promising that he will do everything, so that the main character and her child live in the dome in safety. The head of all the results goes about his business, and this doctor recommends Mikey to eat better in order to stabilize the fetus. Now its development is a little behind. Meanwhile, one-eyed Tetsuo, the one who is a friend of the South, bought several bundles of water, presumably pistols. His henchman asks what the boss has in general a plan. After all, it's kind of weird that they started cooperating with Red September. At the same time, Kai is in some kind of laboratory. He asks an unknown accomplice to prepare more ammunition. We are transported to Miura, who met Shota and those small bandits. An adult freaks out when he sees a guy who stabbed him with a knife. But he is also furious because alcohol has become more expensive. Except Kyo brought him something real beer. Miura, already angry at this, attacked the kid with a stick. He took out a knife in response. The confrontation stopped the shot. The author takes us to the South, who, after exhausting work, is sitting in a cell with other offenders. There's one of the prisoners yelling for water. Futile screams have already got out of a guy in the bandana, so remembering Tetsuo, he tells the loud one to shut up. Soon his friends will have to do something. Our next destination is a secular party of the cream of the Dome Society, where Maki also got to. There, guests ask if the main character remembers what it's like to eat people, and which part is the most delicious. But she doesn't remember that. In general, pork and beef are synthesized in Toga. But that's how they mostly cook food from human flesh here too. Shimamoto appears from behind and apologizes to a Japanese student for the doctor's strange humor. Then he attracts the attention of all those present and asks to greet the woman who brought hope to his people. Well, now it's time to enjoy the performance. They roll out a prisoner sentenced to death for the murder of 16 caretakers, and then release another zombie. Of a former local military doctor, Dr. Otsa, who worked on a vaccine, and whose fault recently caused an outbreak of infections in the dome. And now, for the amusement of the public, there will be a battle between them. Watching the battle, Shimamoto tells Makiya that according to one of Dr. Ozu's hypotheses, infected people lose their memories, and their instincts begin to guide them. No sooner had primitive man evolved a reasonable one than he was already reborn into a representative of a new human race. The zombie continues to fight the man. People are watching the spectacle with interest. When Zoe is about to win, Maki rushes forward with a request to stop all this. As she rushes through the crowd, Shimamoto reflects that the doctor was not so wrong. Infected people do not like electric current and are afraid of weapons. Some overcome the sunlight and satisfy their hunger with pigeons. While a Japanese student is in a hurry to break up the fight, the doctor who told about cannibalism inside the dome declares that this show will continue even if they have vaccines. And in general, let Dr. Ozu enjoy his food, which, by the way, just poked out his eyes. Maki loses patience and screams. Everyone retreats a little from her appearance. Coming up from behind and grabbing the chain, the Japanese student throws Zoe back into the refrigerator. Are you all crazy here? She addresses the cream of the dome society. Where is your sanity and morals? One of those present replies that the world has changed and now there is no place for any morality in it. And it's hard to talk about sanity when quite recently she and her kind ate the flesh of other people. Shimamoto intervenes, saying that they have the vaccine only thanks to magic. He tells her that he is not going to apologize. Because of this doctor, there was a large series of deaths. Then the anger of the people turned to the government, and so the Red September group appeared, which caused even more troubles. Without these shows, we're all going to go crazy, he ends. Then Maki suddenly feels sick. This can't be madness, she thinks, falling to her knees. And in such a world, my child will be born. At night, Kai was able to make his way to the water tank. While this water supply was being built, people were attacked by zombies and now this water is infected. Kai hears the approach, so immediately rushes at him. The festive day began, the water was let right out of the pipe. The boys from Bezukov's gang are happy that now they will be able to drink as much water as they want. But Kyo feels that something is wrong, arguing this with the phrase free cheese only happens in a mousetrap. Surely this is all an excuse to suppress the ideas of the uprising. Shota intervenes and says that the vaccine really exists. In parallel with his words, a screen turns on which Maki and Shimamoto appear. The kid finishes the sentence that it's true, because he and the girl from the screen just brought it together. A year ago, the whole world turned into hell. Shimamoto began a propaganda speech. The tragedy engulfed the whole world, but we never lost hope, and we succeeded in creating a vaccine. He tells how they created a research group, how hard it was for her to work on creating a vaccine, and how one surviving woman went through fire and water to bring hope to the people of this place. But as Kyo notes, no one seems to believe it. At this time, the exhausted Kai goes outside, where he meets Mayora. He was about to attack him with a claim, which he shirks, but the scarred man pulls out a gun. Then he tells the former bandit Tsurunegan that the government is going to abandon Toga. The water is contaminated. He gives Miuri the gun and asks her to pass this information to knowledgeable people. Finally, he asks for a cigarette and shows the bite. The crowd now doesn't care what happens, doesn't care what is created, they want water. Pointing out their behavior, Shimamoto tells Maki that the defense forces were protecting this rot. That does nothing, but only demands something. They were given work and order so that they simply did not kill each other. The main one commands to bring the professor, and Dr. Zombie suddenly appears on the screen. It is on it that he will demonstrate to people the evidence of the successful work of the vaccine. Shimamoto puts his hand up and lets himself be bitten. Then he commands to start the water, and he goes to be vaccinated. That's just not in time, because there's an explosion right there. The syringe with the medicine falls to the floor and breaks. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the so-called Shimamoto mob immediately rush to the water. Among them are Kai's men, who, according to the plan, are going to capture the tower. The main one is trying to get out, as Mikey appears on the way, stating that the meaning of his words has reached her. She too once complained, sitting on everything ready, especially to her parents, but despite this she still had compassion for others. People can change and be reborn. Shimamoto tells Maki that she has been reborn and has become part of a new humanity. Soon he will be exactly the same. Negotiations with some Deba are over and now he offers to go there. But as the main character declares, the path of the Toga leader will end here. A zombie professor attacks from behind, and at the same time, Mikey remembers me, running away in search of him. The one-eyed friend of the South, seeing the chaos that has begun on the street, understands that it's time for them to start acting too. And then, through his fault, another explosion occurs. Meanwhile, the guy in the bandana himself, with the words "this is a signal," pushed the bars apart. There was a complete mess on the street. Bezukov's bandits rushed to run towards the tower, as they were met by Mayora. The man shouts not to go there because the water is infected with a virus. That's what Kai told him. Then a new plan is formed. Bezuki will run after the small fry. The rest should go to Dr. Tomomi, that is, to the place where the child named Mirai is now. Shota wants to go along with Kyo, and after one argument, and he suddenly agrees. Mayora won't go with them. After telling him one last time that the man must have been a good father, something runs away. From these words, the former Nigan, left alone, began to beat the walls with his fists, remembering his daughter. After a certain amount of time, we see a bloody Yuga getting out onto the street, who meets Tetsuo in the same condition. Apparently, they fought with someone, but they didn't show us how or with whom. Suddenly, with the words, "We got an unenviable world, but together we were not so bad," One-Eyed falls on his friend. And riots continue throughout Toga. Representatives of the Red September continue to shoot at opponents who suddenly fall. Poppies come out to meet them. She asks if they are going to overthrow the current government, but there is no time to talk. Enemy reinforcements are already coming from the lower floors. While everyone is waiting for orders, Maki pounces with the question of whether this uprising will be able to turn the situation around. When she gets an answer in the style of "what else can we do?" he picks up a large cabinet and closes the passage, also saying that she is from the upper floors and takes the others where they need to go. On the street, people are running who where. Someone for water, someone away from the explosions, someone has already drunk this water, and now he becomes a zo. Shots and without fish soup continue their way. Seeing a familiar child, Ken goes to him. He tries to talk to him, but the baby suddenly bites his hand. Then Bezukov's closest henchman, his name is Jen, hits the zombie on the head. Jen starts crying. Kyo asks him to pull himself together. He himself will also soon become a zo, so now Jen is the new leader. Promising that he will protect everyone, the boy runs away. The bitten Kyo himself wants to leave on his own terms, but Shota tries to stop him. Bezuki cries bloody tears, saying that he has done many terrible things. Now he wants to see his mom, dad and sister, but he is not sure that he will be allowed to go to heaven with them. When a friend faints, something takes a rope and ties him up, asking him to wait. There should have been another vaccine left, so they will definitely survive. The conflict began to subside a little bit. The dead are lying everywhere, and Maki has already brought Mikhalkov to Shimamoto, who is holding the latest vaccine in her hands. Now the leader of the dome is ready to offer her in exchange for the fact that he will be left alive. The leader of September does not mind, but Shimamoto drops it on the floor, pulls out a gun, and kills the man, stating that he has already used this vaccine on himself. This test is not sent to us from heaven, Shimamoto began to say. There are 7 deadly sins living in all of us. We are sinful from birth. God separated the wheat from the chaff, and waited for a shepherd to appear, able to stop the discord and lead people after him. And that shepherd is me. While he conducts a standard villainous monologue, Maki tries to escape. Climbing out onto the balcony, she sees that the entire dome is engulfed in chaos. The streets are burning. Here and there Zo, who eat people. Shimamoto appears from behind, continuing his speech. He talked to a certain Deba, and will soon be at the helm, there thanks to the fact that he gave them the formula of the vaccine. He invites Maki to join, because maybe she is chosen by heaven. When he says that the age of the stupid human race is over, Maki replies, "No, it's not over. People are stronger than he thinks. Anything and anyone has the opportunity to be reborn, to live on." She screams. We are transported to Shota, who climbs up the tower. Next, the author shows us Kyo's children, who treat Tomomi, and Mayoru, who took Mirai in his arms. He promises the woman that he will protect the children. And we are back with the shot, which continues to move. When he gets to the main character, he finds his girlfriend on the floor and sees the leader of the whole group, who pointed a gun at her. The kid flies at Shimamoto, and he is about to shoot when suddenly Maki rises, grabs him, and hits his head on the floor. Still conscious, calling her a creature, the man fires a pistol. Shoto shouts, but the Japanese student does not let him lose his head, calling by name. Then she picks up Shimamoto by the throat, tells the little one to live, and then jumps from the tower with him. Sho is crying out in tears. Then we see footage of a burning dome and an approaching helicopter from behind Rice and Sam. Intelligence reports that everything is on fire and there are no survivors in sight. Although no, there is a small group of people in the face of children and that kind man Mayora. Later, Shota, along with the zombified Kyo, sees off the departing helicopter with his eyes. In the following frames, really beautiful frames, we see the appearance of incredibly bright light tearing the darkness. Look, Kyo is addressing his friend in Shota. It's getting light. The end. God, what nonsense. Okay, let's take it in order. At first glance, unremarkable zombies in modern pop culture can appear in different ways. Before, let's say, I never expected anything complicated from them. This is either a classic example of horror or thrash. But from time to time, there are emeralds who manage to bring something new or somehow beat the usual scenarios in a different way. As for example, Robert Kirkman in his comic book The Walking Dead, who focused not only on the zombies themselves, but also on the social side of balancing, covered the abscess of society as a guarantor of Ennis, the author of Those Very Boys, who came up with the most beaten-down story about the virus, which, of course, does not turn zombies, but which makes people embody their most cruel and perverted fantasies, completely forgetting about morality. Or the wonderful dramatic story of Ben hauling cargo, where the main focus is on an already bitten father, who has 48 hours before turning to find new parents for his daughter, who is not even able to walk yet. Why have I gone so far at all? To the fact that given the bottomless fantasy of the Japanese, who come up with stories about animals with human faces, about bilocation, about Lolita bums, it can be said that I am almost obsessed with the idea of finding an interesting suitable zombie apocalypse. But whether it's manga or anime, I can't find anything really worthwhile. Believe me, there are even worse stories, although most of them are not finished at all. Some try to be adults, but they serve gray morality or cruelty to deliberately, as if there's no history to be made without it. And reading the description and comments on More Painful Than Death, I had hope. Zombie apocalypse is not a new but unusual idea. People manage to return from the form of a zombie to a human one. And now they have to deliver a vaccine to save humanity. Plus, someone noted the characters, someone the plot. Yes, it's a one-time story, but it's good, people write, but as it turned out in practice, it's more painful than death. Is not only the title of the title, but also a description of the process of reading this story. I don't understand where there can even be a subjective score of 7 out of 10 for the characters. It's impossible to perceive it as trash, because it's more like an attempt to see if it will be possible to create a story using Geepty chat, a rather intriguing beginning and a very good drawing, but at the same time, a crumpled narrative, dull dialogues, and uninteresting or completely illogical characters. There is no naivety of the same Masaya or ordinary trash or trash, which tries with all its might not to be. It's just an absurd story that seems to test your patience. There are some points that most likely you didn't understand because they were mentioned once, or maybe there are 2 at most. And that's it. It's not because I forgot about them. This is because the author forgot about them. The script itself is overloaded with unnecessary details that are simply there and used in dialogues, but which do not lead to anything, and do not affect anything. Of the 5 vaccinated, 2 survived and became people, but at the same time it worked on the South. It worked on Shimamoto, and so on and so on. At the same time, all the details of the plot, while remaining just plywood, create the appearance of real weight for the story. You cling to them, and you come back to them when you finish reading it. For example, mention of various organizations. Okay, Red September eventually appeared, but Deba, what is it? It was mentioned in the work in random dialogues only 3 times, without any disclosure. Something in the style of what if they are Deba people, and then everything. But suddenly Shimamoto starts talking about Deba at the end. An even more weighty thing that just exists and leaves questions for Maki in the 4th month of pregnancy. As I'm not asking now why the story is this detailed, I'm asking how. When Mango just started, the main character woke up in torn clothes, and the moment she finds out that she is pregnant, she remembers exactly that. But at the same time, she has been a zombie for the last year. Judging by the demonstration of the serum, zombies turn into a person within 2 days. The journey from point A to point B looks like moving from one city to another, which took at most a week. And then it's with my stretch. Well, in order not to go far, let's go straight to the characters. Well, to such ordinary Japanese students who, with alcohol intoxication, receive knowledge of the correct use of weapons and combat skills in general. In principle, giving such a character an undisclosed backstory, coupled with what is now, towards the end, they say, she was just a party girl, and now she has become a Sarah icon, was a rather strange decision. If there was a demonstration, for example, Mikey took an accelerated course of a young fighter. Even during the beginning of the apocalypse, then the character would already look natural. And even that was enough to make the irresponsible student Maki look natural, becoming a responsible person after the zombie. Something seems more plausible, but the level of his disclosure, experiences and character, everything is so flat, that when I read it mentally, I called him not Shota, but someone. On the one hand, it is there, but on the other hand, how the fuck is it even needed? But absolutely everyone, even Kai, who appeared again, and went into the sunset. Everyone seems to be an example of necessity and adequacy compared to Mayora. A peasant kidnapped people, sentencing them to slave labor. He sexually assaulted women. Even in the early frames, he looks like a finished creature. But suddenly, the demonstration of the vaccine switches his personality. Yes, he is still willing to sacrifice others, but now he has a good purpose. And in general, he did all these terrible things, threw people into hell, because he still cherishes the hope of meeting his daughter. And in the end, gets a whole plantation of children. Almost every act of his looks as unnatural as possible. There is a strong feeling that the author was inspired by the same Negan from The Walking Dead. And only turned out to be a bipolar bandit, sad, funny guy. Otherwise, it turns out that the most successful character, in my subjective opinion, was the blonde from the first chapter. And this, by the way, I silently read from the third chapter, who found the courage to change and save others. That's just who and how. Lying on the floor, letting myself be eaten, and I have to empathize with him, because he realized how bad he was. Yes, I will not be a tablecloth on the ass. And all these inconsistencies are found throughout the manga during the entire reading. Why Maki didn't just throw off Shimamoto, but jumped off with him, I don't want to discuss at all. I liked the ending itself, IDS the last frames. Not that it was worth it, but that in the end, none of this made any sense at all. Just a frame reminding that the city was bombed. Okay, what's the bottom line? A story overloaded with unnecessary details with uninteresting characters. It's not fun enough or beaten up enough to be trash, and it's too ragged and illogical to be anything more. She had a great drawing and had the concrete potential to become a good zombie story with her own approach and her own non-trivial rules of the world for the genre. But in fact, it's probably one of the worst manga I've read. And how do you think manga is more painful than death? What if I'm the only one who didn't like this story so much? Write in the comments, it will be very interesting to find out. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you liked it. Thank you all for your attention. I love everyone and bye to everyone.